Nigeria, the acknowledged giant of Africa, is currently facing a survival crisis that threatens to tear its complex social fabric apart. Did you know that in just 1 year, thousands of innocent citizens were lost to violence across all 36 states? This is no longer just a regional conflict, it is a multi-front war involving insurgents, bandits, and secessionists. As the nation stands at a critical crossroads, we must ask, how did a land of such immense potential become a landscape of fear? To understand the current chaos, we must look at the vast and varied geography of Nigeria. From the Sahelian plains of the far north to the tropical rainforest of the south, the country's diversity is its greatest strength, yet its biggest challenge. Rapid population growth and dwindling resources have created a pressure cooker environment. When governance fails to reach the remote corners of the hinterlands, shadows begin to grow. Today, those shadows have manifested as a security nightmare across the nation. In the northeast, the deep scars of a decade-long insurgency remain painfully visible. What started as a localized religious movement evolved into a global terror threat that has displaced millions of people. The relentless battle against extremist groups has exhausted the nation's military resources and shattered the lives of innocent villagers. These communities, once thriving centers of trade and agriculture, are now ghost towns where the silence is only broken by the distant sound of artillery or the cries of mourning king. Shifting to the northwest, a new and perhaps more unpredictable threat has emerged: mass banditry. Unlike ideological insurgents, these armed groups are driven by profit, targeting schools and remote villages for ransom. The kidnapping of hundreds of students has sent shockwaves through the educational system, forcing many schools to close indefinitely. Farmers can no longer tend to their field without fear of abduction, leading to a silent hunger that is creeping across the region, further destabilizing an already fragile economic ecosystem. In the north-central region, the conflict takes a different but equally deadly form: the harder farmer crisis. As climate change pushes grazing lands further south, competition over fertile soil and water sources has turned violent. What are essentially economic disputes have frequently been misinterpreted through ethnic and religious lenses, deepening the national divide. Thousands have been killed in these clashes, and many more live in constant fear of the next raid, wondering if their ancestral lands will ever be safe again for farming. The southeast has seen the rise of secessionist tensions, leading to the emergence of the so-called unknown gunmen. Attacks on government facilities and security checkpoints have become alarmingly common, disrupting the peace of a region known for its entrepreneurial spirit. The enforcement of sit-at-home orders has crippled local businesses, leaving many residents caught between the demands of militants and the heavy-handed response of the state. The cry for self-determination has unfortunately transformed into a cycle of violence and economic stagnation. In the oil-rich South-South, the security challenge is linked to the very lifeblood of the Nigerian economy. Crude oil theft and the sabotage of pipelines continue to drain billions from the national treasury every year. While large-scale militancy has decreased since the amnesty program, the environmental degradation and lack of local development continue to fuel resentment. The sight of black soot over cities like Port Harcourt is a grim reminder of how insecurity and environmental neglect are two sides of the same coin. The economic cost of this pervasive insecurity is staggering and affects every Nigerian. Significant portions of the national budget are diverted away from infrastructure, healthcare, and education to fund the military apparatus. Foreign investors, wary of the risks, often bypass Nigeria for more stable climates, leading to a shortage of the capital needed to drive growth. When people cannot move safely or trade across state lines, the entire engine of the nation begins to stall, trapping millions in a cycle of poverty. Beyond the numbers lies the human cost: the internally displaced persons, or IDPs. Millions of Nigerians are currently living in makeshift camps, having fled their homes with nothing but the clothes on their backs. In these camps, basic necessities like clean water and medical care are often scarce. A generation of children is growing up without formal schooling or the stability of a home. These camps are not just temporary shelters, they are the visible scars of a nation in deep distress. The targeting of schools by bandits has created a terrifying educational deficit. When children are abducted from their dormitories, the message sent to parents is clear: your children are not safe while learning. This has led to an explosion in the number of out-of-school children, particularly in the northern regions. Without education, the youth are more vulnerable to recruitment by extremist groups or criminal gangs. The very future of the nation is being mortgaged by this relentless assault on the classroom. Nigeria's security forces are currently overstretched, performing duties in almost every state of the federation. The military, traditionally trained for external defense, is now permanently deployed for internal policing. This constant deployment leads to fatigue and a breakdown in standard operating procedures. While the soldiers show immense bravery, they are often faced with asymmetric threats that are difficult to combat with conventional warfare. The question of whether the current security architecture is fit for purpose has become a central part of the national debate. One of the most debated solutions is the creation of state police. Currently, Nigeria operates a centralized police force controlled from the capital, Abuja. Proponents argue that local officers would have better intelligence and a greater stake in protecting their own communities. Opponents, however, fear that state governors might use local police as personal militias to suppress political opposition. This delicate balance between regional autonomy and national unity remains a major hurdle in the quest for a more effective and responsive policing system. Corruption within the defense sector remains a significant hurdle. Reports of ghost soldiers and diverted procurement funds have plagued the military's ability to effectively combat well-armed criminal groups. When resources meant for protective gear and advanced weaponry disappear into private pockets, the brave men and women on the front lines are left vulnerable. Addressing this systemic rot is not just a matter of law, it is a matter of national survival. Without transparency, the billions spent on security will continue to vanish without trace. Nigeria's borders are notoriously porous, allowing for the easy flow of small arms and light weapons from neighboring conflict zones. The collapse of order in parts of the Sahel has turned the region into a supermarket for illegal weaponry. Without effective border control and regional cooperation, stopping the influx of arms is nearly impossible. Strengthening the immigration and customs services is vital, as is working closely with neighbors like Niger, Chad, and Cameroon to secure the vast frontiers that currently serve as gateways for terror. In the modern era, technology must play a larger role in securing the nation. Surveillance drones, satellite imagery, and advanced communication systems could provide the tactical edge needed to track bandits in thick forests. While some progress has been made in acquiring these tools, their integration into daily operations remains slow. Moving from a reactive to a proactive security stance requires a digital transformation of the intelligence services. Information, shared in real time, is the most powerful weapon against those who operate in the shadows. Communities have not waited for the government alone, many have formed their own vigilante groups. Organizations like Amoticon in the southwest show a growing desire for localized security. These groups often have superior knowledge of the local terrain and the people living within it. However, the lack of formal training and legal frameworks for these groups can lead to human rights abuses or extrajudicial actions. Finding a way to integrate these local heroes into the formal security structure is a major challenge. Justice delayed is justice denied, and this holds true for the thousands arrested in connection with security crimes. The Nigerian judicial system is often slow and overwhelmed, leading to situations where suspects languish in detention for years without trial. This lack of swift prosecution emboldens criminals and frustrates the victims. A reformed judiciary that can quickly and fairly try those accused of terrorism or kidnapping is essential. Only when there are clear consequences for criminal actions will the cycle of impunity finally be broken. Nigeria does not stand alone in this fight. International support is crucial. Alliances with global powers for intelligence sharing and high-tech equipment are vital components of the strategy. However, there are often diplomatic tensions over human rights records, which can delay the delivery of much-needed aircraft and weapons. Balancing the need for international help with the preservation of national sovereignty is a delicate act for any administration. Ultimately, the world has a stake in Nigeria's stability, as its collapse would trigger a global humanitarian crisis. A highly controversial part has been the use of dialogue and amnesty for repentant bandits and insurgents. Some governors have attempted to negotiate peace by offering financial incentives or rehabilitation programs. Critics argue that this effectively rewards criminality and encourages others to take up arms for a payout. Supporters believe that if the leaders of these groups can be brought to the table, the violence can be ended more quickly than through military force alone. This debate continues to divide the Nigerian public deeply. At its heart, the security crisis is a symptom of a deeper governance failure. High unemployment and a lack of economic opportunity provide a fertile breeding ground for recruitment into criminal gangs. When a young person sees no future in the legitimate economy, the lure of a gun and quick cash becomes hard to resist. Solving the security crisis requires more than just bullets. It requires job creation, quality education, and the provision of basic services that make the state relevant to its citizens. The youth of Nigeria are not just victims, they are the most powerful voice for change. From social media campaigns to peaceful protests, they are demanding accountability and safety. The energy of the End SARS movement showed that the younger generation is no longer willing to accept the status quo of insecurity and police brutality. Their resilience and innovation in the face of adversity are the primary reasons many still hold out hope. If the government can harness this energy, a new Nigeria is possible. There are small success stories that offer a glimmer of hope. In some regions, community-led initiatives and improved local governance have successfully driven back criminal elements. These pockets of peace serve as models for what can be achieved when the people and the government work in unison. By studying these local successes, national leaders can identify strategies that actually work on the ground. Peace is not an impossible dream, it is a goal that requires consistent effort, local trust, and political will from the top. The way forward requires a multidimensional approach. It involves a mix of military precision, judicial speed, economic empowerment, and honest dialogue. There is no single, silver bullet that can fix Nigeria's security problems overnight. It will take a sustained commitment across different administrations and a refusal to play politics with human lives. The giant of Africa must wake up and address its internal fractures with the same vigor it uses to project power on the global stage. The time for excuses has long passed. As we conclude, the question remains, will Nigeria find the path back to peace, or will the shadows continue to lengthen? The resilience of the Nigerian people is legendary, but even the strongest spirit can be pushed to its breaking point. The journey to a secure Nigeria is long, but it is a journey that must be taken for the sake of the millions who call this land home. The giant of Africa must stand tall again, not just in size, but in the safety of its people.